Hi, welcome to One Eye on the Page. I am Scott. This is the end of month wrap up for January 2024. Let's get into it. I read 18 books this month, and I'm going to rank them from the worst to the first. I will be quite honest, my goal for the month was at least 10 books. Covered that. I do wish that I had read more of the books that I intended to read. I don't mind the books I read, but I read far more books that I wasn't intending to read than the ones I was. As I have explained before, whenever I'm reading something heavy, and I am reading Finnegan's Wake, and I read All the Sinners Bleed, and I am reading The Underground Railroad, and I'm reading another book, Chain Gang All Stars, and a few other things that I'm blanking on right now. All heavy reading. So when I read heavy reading, I also read light reading. Light reading, I read a lot faster than I do the heavy reading. So I finished a lot of light reading books and not as much of the heavy reading. Finnegan's Wake is going to take me most of the year, I think. It's February 1st. I'm on page 5. It's just very difficult to get through. And I have got other James Joyce books too. I want to read some more Dostoevsky, maybe some Tolstoy. I see heavier books in this year, which means I am going to end up reading a lot of light books. So I may end up getting to 200 books again with a lot of light stuff, but I will get through this heavier stuff, just not as quickly. So let's go ahead and start at book number 18. It is Better the Blood by Michael Bennett. This is a book that I read for my family's book club. My family loves thrillers, loves them so much. I mentioned this during this last book club meeting, so hopefully they will move away from that a little bit because, like, Scott, why are you always talking shit about these books? Because you always give me thrillers with one dimensional characters. So, yeah, one dimensional character in here. There is some societal things, especially with the Maori culture in New Zealand, that I think there could be a good book written about. I just think it's done very poorly in here. The author is a Maori writer, but I think he wrote with not a third grader's understanding, but a third grader's textbook of it, and it just doesn't come out well. I thought calling the characters one dimensional is giving them a lot of credit. I thought the we're told the villain's a genius. We don't see it. The villain is an asshole. He's supposed to be doing things for these good reasons, and I don't see it. I understand what the intention was. It just doesn't work. It's just like, no, this guy's just an asshole and a psychopath. Not necessarily a psychopath, but just wasn't good. I don't want to read thrillers anymore. Not because I hate thrillers. There are good thrillers. I have read good thrillers. My family does not pick them. Book number 17 is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Woman, Delilah Green, goes back to her hometown where she is left. She doesn't care for her stepmother. Her father had died. Her sister, half sister, whatever, she doesn't get along with. And Delilah Green is an asshole. Huge raging asshole. Is mean to people for no reason. Is not a good person. Not even take her away from her town where she has bad memories or whatever. She's still a bad person, and she doesn't deserve anything good. My feeling. And also, I don't cotton to any book that makes physical assault a joke. I mean, it's one thing if like somebody's defending yourself, but to punch somebody because you thought they did something neglectful to your friend, and it turns out that he didn't. But ha ha ha, it's still funny. No, shitty book. Book number 16 is I Knew I Loved You by Amy DeMerit. It's a, man, I always blank on this word. It is low stakes romance. Danny and Taylor. Taylor is a social media person. Danny has been laid off. They're best friends. Danny's in love with Taylor, but is afraid to tell her because doesn't want to ruin the friendship. They go on vacation together. Things happen. Page 80, and then we have like 250 more pages, and it's just like, okay, oh, cool, we're painting walls, we're yelling at the friend who didn't like Danny. Then, like, okay, we yelled, so I guess maybe we can be friends. I don't know, maybe we shouldn't be friends. Oh, maybe we are friends. Hey, let's just string her along. And yeah, it was twice as long as it needed to be, maybe 3 times as long as it needed to be. Also, not very good. She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and Allison Derrick is at number 15. It is a college romance. I've learned previously with much better books, including Imogene, obviously, by Becky Albertalli, I believe, which is a great book. I just don't feel like I'm the reader for younger romance. Maybe it's just, what the hell, dude? It's just my bitter old man, like, that's not gonna last kind of thing. But I'm just like, I don't think it's gonna last, not with these two people. Forget the names, but the shy girl in her first year of college and the flirt who flirts with everybody but isn't really close to anybody, and basically decides that she's going to be the shy girl's uh, flirt guru, basically to get her to win the girl that she likes. And while that happens, they grow close together. Fine as a romance as it was, but again, I just, not my thing. Number 14 is Don't Quit Your Daydream by Adrian J. Smith. Adrian J. Smith is an author I read previously. He co-wrote a book with T.B. Markinson, All Wrapped Up in You, which was decent. This one, all the ones I said before, although She Gets the Girl wasn't bad, but the 3 previous ones, those were bad books. These are kind of mid books that I'm talking about right now. So Don't Quit the Daydream. Common thread through some of these books, like 13 through 18 or whatever, is I like some of the characters. I like the two main characters. I even like the romance. I there's an age gap thing, and it's really, it talks at the beginning as if there's like a 20 plus year age gap. She's talking, uh the younger girl is a millennial and just starting at this. In 25 years from now, will face the same uh, realizations as the older woman who's just about to turn 50. And then it turns out that the younger one is like 34. That's not just starting out in business. So I don't know if there was a larger age gap that there was supposed to be and she just chickened out, or there's just a real bad editing job, but also cartoonish ex-husband in here. I realize that a lot of authors feel like that they have to have like subplots and stuff. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's better just. I think if you'd taken the ex-husband out of this entirely, and I think it could have been done easily, it would have been a better book. Number 13 is A Life Worth Living by Monica McCallan. And a lot of these books are the easy reads that I did this month because I'm reading these harder reads also. This was another sapphic romance. Two realtors go to Bermuda for whatever they've done as top sellers in their business. They grow closer there. It's a Grumpy Sunshine. I don't always enjoy the Grumpy Sunshine, but I always somehow end up reading them. I like the both characters well enough, and also there's some depth to the characters. The Sunshine character has a sister that I'm frankly annoyed with. I hate it when characters apologize to somebody who's using them and the other person basically doesn't apologize and somehow things have improved, and it's like, no, that person is still that person. You didn't do anything wrong. That person was using you. Why are you apologizing? But I like the relationship. It was fine. It was decent, good. Number 12 is Those Who Wait by Haley Cass. I read 3 Haley Cass books this January. This, I think, was the worst of them, not because it was bad, but largely because the setting. This one is set in the political world and makes a lot of assertions about how politics is done that, frankly, just I no, I don't need everything to be 100% on like you can fact check everything and everything's right, but to be so grossly wrong. I like the two main characters. Sutton, one of the characters, is one of my favorite characters of the 3 Haley Cass books. But the reason this is the worst of the books is one, the political world, everything to do with the running of politics. I dislike. Also, this was 630 pages. It's just a long book. Some cartoonish side characters. I like the relationship. Relationship was good. If it had been set in a different field, it's probably be way up there, but the whole political stuff just was not good. Number 11 is Reality in Check by Emily Banting. Artie, who is an artist, has been teaching in Italy for years, comes back home. She has inherited her grandmother's hotel. She wants to get running, wants to build a art studio to teach in there. Uh, Charlotte, who is the host of a reality TV show called Hotel SOS, as well as being part of a hotel empire her mother is the CEO of, comes there. They're both attracted to each other, do not get off on the right foot, and basically it goes from there. I like the relationship. I like the 2 female characters. They have depths to them. They both have flaws. It's not like some books where it's the one who has to make the Ice Queen change. It's like both of them have to change, but uh, a lot of my problems with this is that I will say a lot, especially in these romances, family members. Drop family members. You can drop family members. You do not have to put up with your family. I know this is my thing. I know there are people like, that's my family and that will be my family no matter what. Fine. I'm like, that's my family. That family sucks. Bye. I also have family. I'm like, that's my family no matter what. But respect is earned, not given. That's the type of person I am. Once you earn it, you kind of got it, but you got to earn it. Book number 10 is Love Among the Chickens by P.G. Wodehouse. It's a book that I have read before. Kind of ranks low for a P.G. Wodehouse novel, but it also has the character Euchridge, who is one of my least favorite P.G. Wodehouse characters. He's a user, uh, basically, and he's in one novel and I believe 19 stories, and pretty much all of them include him using his friends and then him getting out of a scrape, and oftentimes his friends being the worse for wear for it. Uh, this is his first appearance, which it's also chronologically for the Euchridge character is the last story, even though it appeared first, because it's after he got married, and he is not married in any of the stories. He meets his future wife in one of the last stories. The narrator is Jeremy Garnett, and there's a romance with him and a girl near the chicken farm. Euchridge has decided a get rich scheme is running a chicken farm so that they can get eggs, sell eggs, practically don't have to do any work, and money just comes in, and you can see where it's going. But yeah, a lot of it just has to do with the fact that I don't like Euchridge. I do appreciate that Euchridge doesn't appear in here as much as he does in like the Euchridge stories as far as percentage wise. But still, for me, too much Euchridge is too much Euchridge. Number 9 is Purposefully Accidental by G. Benson, an actress who has won 4 Oscars. I looked this up. There's been only one actor that has won 4 Oscars, and that was Katharine Hepburn. Nobody else has won more than 3. But this actress, who is not terribly old, it took Katharine Hepburn quite a gap to, because her last one was for On Golden Pond, when she was like in her 80s, at least her 70s, probably her 80s, and I think she won her first one late 20s, 30s, maybe. A long gap. But this woman is not terribly old. I think younger than 40, I believe. But she's also winner of 4 Oscars, is working on a television medical drama. Okay. She gets into an accident, goes to the emergency room. The doctor there does not like her. Turns out the doctor there is a person that she went to summer camp with and basically pushed her down in the mud after basically daring her to kiss her. And then when she starts to, she pushes her in the mud. So the doctor is holding a grudge for a very long time for what a 9-year-old did. The actress basically stressed out, suggests the doctor to be a medical consultant on the TV show. And so they end up working together and bickering and clashing. It starts out very lighthearted, very comedic, and it gets, I won't say darker, but it gets more dramatic as you go in the novel, especially in some of the backstory of the characters. I generally like the relationship. Kind of liked about the sexual politics of Hollywood. it was a pretty good book. I just can't get over the 4 Oscars thing. I can't get over a little bit the holding onto a grudge of like 25 years because a 9-year-old pushed you down. But pretty good romance. Number 8, another romance. Again, lots of light reading. This is Poppy Jenkins by Claire Ashton. Poppy lives in a small Welsh village. She is, as far as she knows, she's the only gay person there. So a little bit lonely, but she loves her family. She has all her friends. She works in a cafe. Her best friend from like ages like 8 to 16 comes back to town. They fell apart at 16 for reasons that'll be covered in the book, and they come back and there's a little bit at odds. Poppy is attracted to her. There may be some attraction on the other side. And to me, it was just Poppy is a beloved member of her community, and her community knows that she is a lesbian. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like, we know you, we love you, and we accept you. But what if there's somebody else that we never quite accepted? Do perhaps some prejudices show up for that person that don't show up for you? And that's something that Poppy has to deal with. And she has a best friend who's kind of like this sporty, like alpha male kind of guy, and it goes a little bit into it. But I that's one thing I do wish it kind of went into a little bit more of his, not his point of view, but basically what he sees, because Poppy is his best friend, and it's okay that she's gay. But then if somebody says something homophobic about somebody else, and then he's going, well, that's just blowing off steam. It doesn't mean anything. And it's like, Poppy is like, but it does mean something. And I wish that that had been explored just a little bit more. But other than that, I like the romance, and I am blanking on the other woman's name. That's the thing when you read so many books. I know what's happening in the stories, but the names are the one things I always forget. Luckily, the name of the book is Poppy Jenkins, so I remember Poppy. But very good book. I do have another Claire Ashton book that I have read in the past, Meeting Millie, which was a very good book. I like that one even better than this, and I think this is a very good book. I have one on my Kindle Unlimited that I'll probably read next month or this month, maybe. We'll see. I've said I'll read it, so I might not. Who knows? Book number 7 is The Complete Peanuts, the years 1950 through 1952. I got this one for Christmas along with 1952 1953 as part of a 2-book set. Obviously, The Complete Peanuts. The Complete Peanuts is much longer. I think he was still writing into the 90s, I believe. I may be wrong on that. But yeah, basically the first 2+ years of Peanuts, Charlie Brown and Friends, markedly different than what I remember about Peanuts. Because when I started reading Peanuts, it was like 30 plus years after you first started it. In this one, uh, Lucy and Linus don't appear for like a year, and they're like toddlers and babies at the beginning. Uh, the main characters are Charlie Brown, okay, uh, Violet, who, oh yeah, the one side character, Shermie, who he plays one of the shepherds, I believe, in the Christmas special. But other than that, don't really see him a lot in later comics. Schroeder was a baby. There's a character named Patty who's not Peppermint Patty, who kind of disappears a little bit. And those are pretty much the characters, except for Snoopy. Snoopy appears. Charlie Brown is smiling, making jokes, teasing people. He does kind of start. He starts off with some people kind of going, "Oh, that Charlie Brown," but also it's like, "Oh, you're my friend Charlie Brown," or this girl's flirting with you, and then a couple comics later, she's like, "I hate you," but it's not the sad sack loser Charlie Brown that we will see in later years, but uh, it's still Peanuts. It's Peanuts growing to be what I know it to be. I gave that one a pretty good rating. So that was book number 7. Book number 6 is In the Long Run by Haley Cass. Uh, Again, terrible with names, but it's kind of a grumpy sunshine thing. One of the characters, and they are both in their 40s, and I do appreciate uh, some of these books having older characters in here that I can associate with a little bit more than I can with the ones who are in college. Um, but one of them is left her town in Tennessee, I believe, and she basically travels around the world, runs a social media site about traveling, and she just goes back home every once in a while. But she is in San Francisco, and she runs into another woman from town who is uh, a city manager for the town. She's at a conference in San Francisco, and they have a one night stand, even though they are grumpy sunshine. Um, and it's like the city manager has basically been in love with the traveler forever. She's a little bit younger. I think she's like 4 years younger. Um, but it's like, okay, got the one night stand. Then she goes back, but the traveler comes back to be with her sister, who is pregnant, although she's only told the sister. Nobody else knows. So nobody else knows why the traveler is back. And it's very uh, frustrating for the city manager. And the traveler kind of enjoys teasing her a little bit. And of course, they grow closer together. I like both character. I don't know what it says that in a lot of these books, I like the grumpy character better. Maybe because I guess I'm the grumpy character and I I'm attracted to the sunshine, but I don't identify with them. Uh, but yeah, I think this one was just very good. Also, my only real complaint about this, besides the kind of evil, not evil mayor or whatever, is the traveler's brother is the city manager's best friend. But I don't really see that. We don't really see it in action very much during the book, so I feel like it was kind of a wasted opportunity. I don't see any real reason for him to be her best friend within the novel because there wasn't a lot of conflict based on you're in love with my sister type of thing. So I felt that was a wasted opportunity. Book number 5 is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, a thriller that I chose to read. Like Titus, don't remember his last name, sorry, is the sheriff of a southern town. He's a black sheriff uh, in a southern town that has a Confederate flag still up. Uh, One point, a young black man kills a school teacher at school, and then the young black man is killed by the police. but before he is, he talks to the sheriff and points the sheriff in a direction, and the sheriff discovers something even worse. Trigger warning: dead children, and it turns out that there is a serial killer in this community, and the sheriff, who used to be in the FBI and has a troubled past because of the FBI, is trying to find the serial killer before something else happens, and stuff does happen. There's a lot in the book about race, and there are no easy answers, obviously. I really like the character of Titus. There's an ex-girlfriend that shows up that I felt was totally unnecessary. I there was only there were two purposes to her showing up. One, you could have easily transferred to another character, and two, you could have made that happen without even bringing the ex-girlfriend into it. An unnecessary character. I like the family dynamic of Titus and his brother and his father. The black sheriff trying to do good in his town, which is still basically run by black by white people, and still putting up with racism. Very good book. I do have another book by S.A. Cosby, Blacktop Wasteland, that I've had. I just haven't read yet. After reading this, I probably will pick it up at some point because I greatly enjoyed this book. Not a light read. Book number 4 is On the Same Page by Haley Cass. It's the first book I read by Haley Cass. The best of the books that I read. Uh, Basically, kind of like I Knew I Loved You, in that there are two friends, and one of them, although these have been best friends since college, one of them is in love with the other one, but doesn't want to ruin the friendship. There's And that I like this book so much, you can tell by the fact that there is such eye rolling, take me out of the book, uh, mistaken gift giving, that it was so cringe worthy, but it got them to a place where the rest of the book came from that, and I enjoyed the relationship. As I said, Sutton, I believe in Those Who Wait, was my favorite Ellie Cast character, but this was probably my favorite couple of the three books. Just pretty enjoyable from beginning to end. Although another social media character, I mean, I understand in the world that there's just so many social media characters. Book number 3 is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. It is a cozy fantasy, a low stakes fantasy about a retired orc warrioress, opening a coffee shop. Basically, uh, it gets it built, starts serving, updating the menu, hiring a succubus to be a barista slash possible partner, a ratkin, which is some rat-like creature, is their baker. It's got a bard singing there, got a dire cat, and very low stakes. It's mainly about opening this coffee shop. There are some scenes of violence, but very rarely does Viv, the orc, actually do any violence. It was charming. uh, and I did not know this when I first started to read it, there's a sapphic romance in there too. Very behind the scenes for most of the book. And but it's just like, oh, which if you see the cover, you could see, oh yeah, okay. But it's more about found family. Found family done right. Better than any of the romances that I read. Book number 2 is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. It's about people who can basically control the earth. They're considered very dangerous. They also considered useful to use. A lot of people don't see them as people, but more as kind of slaves. One of the women in here is an Oregane. I am mispronouncing it. Get used to that. And her son is killed by his father because he is also, and she is trying to track him down because he has her daughter also. There's also a young girl that's basically be taken to a school for this, and there is a young woman who is essentially an apprentice to a powerful Oregane, and also is tasked with bearing him children so that they can have more, basically, Earth movers. And all these three characters are connected in a way that you don't see until later in the novel. Probably the best written book that I read last month. There's one of the characters, Essen, the woman in her 40s. Her sections are written in second person, you, which you have to be a skilled writer for that to work. And luckily, it does work here. Uh, I said in a weekly wrap up, I don't know when I'm going to read the second book. Probably not right away because this took me almost 2 months to read, to finish, because I was reading other stuff too. And it's a heavy read. So, but I will be finishing the trilogy, just probably not so soon. And book number 1 is Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. It's a book that I've read many times before. I listened to this time. I listened to it on audio book. It's my number 1 book for the month. It's not going to be my number 1 book for the year. It's not going to be on my list of best books for the year because I do not rank books that I've read more than twice. But if it was, it would probably be it would probably be in the number 1 slot or very close. It's a coming of age book. It's a horror novel. It's a mystery novel. It's a tragic comedy. It's about race and sex and fathers and sons. It's just everything I could want in a book. It's one of my favorite books. It is always in my top 10 book list. And my top 10 books change a lot depending on the day, the weather, if I breathe differently, whatever. It's but this book and Bluebeard by Kurt Vonnegut are always in my top 10 books. The other ones might change, but these two will always be in it. So I do have a video about the book itself, so I will link that up here. So those are the 18 books I read in January. I finished one in February already. It's February 1st. So we'll see next month what I have to do. I'm still reading these difficult books, so we'll see what happens there. So please like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I will talk to you next time.